am not a classy guitar player. I can't play ripping solos, I can't rip on classic rock stuff. I just don't have the aptitude to be a well-rounded, truly skilled guitarist, and that's why I just play big stupid metal riffs all the time. So there's a part of me that thinks that I don't deserve this amplifier. Because, I mean, this is a real deal old Fender amp right here. It's a silverface, so it's not as prestigious as a tweed or a blackface, but still pretty well respected regardless. Like, this is an amp for people who play country or blues or classic rock, whereas, well, with what I play, in my skill level, a Line 6 Spider and a metal zone should be good enough for me. You see, cred is a very real thing in music, especially in guitar. And we don't want to admit that because we don't want to make ourselves look like gatekeepers or elitists or whatever. And yes, I know that people are allowed to buy whatever they want. Yes, I know that if you have money and you can spend it, then you've got the freedom to spend it on whatever you want and whatever makes you feel good. But that still doesn't change the fact that cred is still very real. And certain gear comes with certain expectations. Like the traditional pathway is a piece of real deal old vintage gear is your next level, right? So, like, you've reached the point in your musicianship journey where you have become a truly skilled and well-rounded player, and in order to celebrate and treat yourself as kind of a symbolic end to that part of your journey, you buy yourself a piece of real deal old vintage gear. And then you pull up to a gig or some other kind of gathering with that gear, and people are going to see it, and they're like, oh shit, look at that guitar player. They must be pretty important because they've got real deal old vintage gear. Or on the flip side, you could just be a mediocre musician with a lot of money, and you just spend it on that gear because you want to look cooler than you actually are. I mean, there's a reason why PRS guitars are called doctor and lawyer guitars. You also got to think about use cases too. Like, you don't need an amp like this to play what I play. Just like you don't need a $5,000 PRS guitar to play the 4 power chords to a Puddle of Mud song on. You don't need a Bugatti to drive 5 miles down the road to Walmart and back. A Toyota Corolla will do that just fine. And no matter how many sponsored spots you see in Electro Boom videos, you do not need a $20,000 Keysight oscilloscope unless you're a professional electrical engineer. Yes, those things cost $20,000. That's what they don't tell you in those sponsored segments. All this to say that if you have high-end tools, there's an expectation that you're going to be doing high-end stuff with them. Otherwise, you just look like a spoiled rich brat with an ego. So why did I get this amp? Well, the excuse that I've used for the last few years when buying newer, nicer pieces of gear for myself is they're studio tools. I resigned myself to the fact long ago that I'm never going to be a truly skilled and well-rounded guitar player, so I feel like my musical existence these days is better spent just doing studio stuff and recording, honing my skills with that, because I feel like I'm better at it. And one tool that I was lacking in my collection of studio stuff was just a big old clean amp. I mean, I already kind of had some stuff like that. I have my little Seymour Duncan pedal platform amp. I have the clean channel on my Valve State. I have the clean-ish, not really clean at all channel on my 6505.
It's filthy!
But I didn't have a true dedicated clean amp that I could pull up whenever I wanted a clean sound or whenever I wanted a pedal platform. And if I was going to get one, then I wanted to get something that had been around for a long time, was going to be reliable, and had a reputation of sounding good. So I got this one, 1972 Fender Super Reverb. I got it for $1,200 on the Guitar Center website.
Oh man, it's seen better days, hasn't it?
If you want to get a real deal vintage Fender amp, then this and the Silverface Twins are kind of your last option at this point. I mean, everything vintage Fender is just crazy as far as price goes. Even the little amps like the Princetons and Champs have just gone through the roof in value. don't even think about getting a deluxe, especially if it's a blackface. Even if it's not pre-CBS, it's still going to be ridiculously expensive. And the same goes for the Silverface Princetons and Deluxes and all the smaller amps. But you can still find Silverface Supers and Twins hovering right around $1,000. And I think the reason for that is because these amps are just so much bigger and more cumbersome. Like, I mean, you got 4 10-inch speakers and a tube amp chassis in here, so it's an extremely heavy piece of equipment. So, it's inconvenient to pull up to the gig or whatever gathering you're going to with one of these. A Deluxe or a Princeton is way more easy to lug around. But that doesn't matter to me. This thing's a studio tool. I don't play live. This thing's gonna sit in one place and never move. When I got it, a few of the tubes were bad, which is a pity because all of the tubes that came in it when I got it were like old American RCAs that would be extremely valuable if they still worked. I had to replace both the power tubes, but hey, the two preamp tubes were still good, so I lucked out there. And this is exciting because now that I have an amp with old vintage tubes in it, I can swap them out with newer tubes and see what the sound difference is. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Aside from that, this thing is surprisingly original. As far as I know, it's got the original speakers, it's got its original spring reverb tank, it's even got its original electrolytic capacitors, which I was extremely surprised to hear when I took it into the tech. Like, with the amount of wear and tear that's on this thing, like, I would have expected it to have been used so much where those capacitors should have died a long time ago. And, like, even if it wasn't getting used, that's still a very long time for electrolytic capacitors to last. Oh well, I'm not complaining. As long as they're working, I'm not complaining. Alright, well, I've been yapping long enough. It's time to make some noise with this thing. Oh yeah, I gotta talk about the guitar that I'm gonna be using. Since I'm doing a video about a Fender amp, I felt that it was right to play a Fender guitar, and I have a Fender guitar right here. This is actually the first serious electric guitar that I ever owned. I got it when I was 12 years old as a birthday present. I used it for a long time, and then when I started getting into heavier music, I got a guitar that was better suited to heavy music than a Stratocaster with single coils. And this thing kind of just fell by the wayside. I didn't use it for years. But then, earlier this year, I kind of got the itch to get it back in playing condition. So I took all the metal parts off, I cleaned the shit out of them, literally. I got all the rust removed, then I took it in to get it set up, and now, honestly, this might be the best guitar that I own. Like, just in terms of playing performance. Maybe not in sound, especially for heavy stuff, but in terms of playing performance, this is probably the best guitar that I own right now. I've been rediscovering my love of this thing, man. Like, I've been enjoying playing guitar more than I have for a long time now because I have this and this now for some reason. Alright, well, let's hear it. Let's start out on the normal channel.
Also, everything is being recorded with a single SM57 like this, unless specified otherwise, and none of the recordings, including the jams that you're going to hear, have any EQ or post-processing on them, unless specified otherwise.
The EQ controls on this thing are really useful. It gets really bassy really fast. Like 3 or 3.5 is a pretty good level of bass for me. Like a lot of low end coming from this thing. It also gets bright really fast. Yeah, so that's a little harsh up there in the upper regions. 5 is good enough for me. But that's not all. It's got a bright switch. I guess that would come in handy if you had like really dark sounding pickups or something, but if you're using a guitar like this and you've also got an overdrive or a distortion pedal, that's gonna get ugly real fast. Yeah, I think this is my sweet spot as far as the EQ settings on the normal channel goes. Treble almost at 5, bass just a little after 3. And I mean, yeah, the character of the tone is just incredible. It's pristinely clean. I've got the volume at about 3 right now. This amp was made early enough to where it doesn't have a master volume. Towards the end of the 70s, Fender started putting master volumes on their amps. This one does not have a master volume. So if you want distortion from the amp itself, then you just gotta turn the volume up all the way. Maybe I should do that, just to see what it sounds like. That'd be fun. Man, that's some great distortion. I always love hearing distortion from things that aren't supposed to distort. It's always interesting to me for some reason. Fills up the room very nicely. I'm definitely going to crank it for one of the jams later on. I'm definitely going to crank it. That sounds suspicious. I'm going to turn up the volume all the way. I'm going to turn up the volume all the way for one of the jams later on. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention. Each channel has two inputs, a high level and a low level input. I'm plugged into the high level input. The low level input, you don't really need to hear that one. It gets quieter. That's all you need to know. I think I tried to jump the channels when I first got this thing like you would with an old Marshall. I don't think it worked. Or if it did do something, then it did something very strange. I don't know. If you know anything about jumping the channels on these amps, then put it down in the comments section. And while we're on the subject of distortion, why not take out the vintage tubes that are in this thing and replace them with some cheaper, newer tubes? Crank up the volume, get the distortion going, and just see what the difference between newer and older tubes is real quick in this thing. I've got a riff pre-recorded that I'm just going to reamp, and I'm going to swap the tubes over and see what the difference is. By the way, you've been hearing the RCA tubes in this video. How about that? I was kind of expecting there to be a bigger difference, at least based on what I've heard guitar people talk about for all these years. I don't know, that sounded pretty similar to me. The new tubes have kind of a bit of a harsher edge to them, I think. Not sure why that is or why that would be, but I'm pretty sure I hear it. An interesting thing happened when I null tested those two recordings. You see how there's more of a difference at the beginning and then it kind of evens out a little bit over time? I think that's really interesting. I wonder why it does that. Like, it starts out a little bit different, a little bit harsher, but then after a few seconds, it kind of softens a little bit and it becomes a whole lot more similar. That's really interesting to me. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see more tube experiments with this thing in the future, because now that I have this thing, I think it would be a really cool test bed for different tube tests. All right, I think we've exhausted the normal channel. Let's move over to the vibrato channel, or tremolo channel as it's more accurately called, because that's where the fun stuff is. This channel is also different because it has another EQ control. It has a mids control. Let me just dial in my sweet spot with bass and treble real quick. The bass and treble controls and the bright switch on this channel are basically the same as the ones on the other channel. Interestingly enough, the midway position on the mids control on the vibrato channel doesn't give you the same mid-range content as the normal channel. So I'm just going to sweep through the mid-range control real quick until I find where it's at. I think that's about it. I think about 8 on the mids control on the vibrato channel gets you basically the same thing as the normal channel. Alright, now let's get into the fun stuff, the effects. The reverb on this thing is just incredible. I wish that I could have this reverb as a standalone effect unit that I could just put on anything I wanted. I wish I had it in stereo. Yeah, I'm way into that reverb. Let's turn up the tremolo. Yep, it's a tremolo, all right. I don't have much use for tremolo. Never had much use for tremolo because I just don't play music that uses tremolo a whole lot. But every time I fire this amp up, I just can't help but turn the tremolo up at some point. It makes me want to use it in something. Definitely will be using it in one of the jams later on. A really weird thing about the tremolo on this amp is it acts on the reverb as well. So if you have the reverb turned up, then the tremolo affects the reverb signal as well as the dry guitar signal, which I think is kind of weird. Does that sound goofy or what? Alright, well, that's basically the extent of the amp's capabilities. Let's soup it up with some effects. Let's try some modulation. We've got reverb, why not add some delay? How about some overdrive? And of course, I guess we have to see how it holds up as a distortion platform. Yeah, I'm not sure about this thing as a distortion platform. The speakers in this thing, they're more hi-fi sounding almost than like your typical metal speakers like vintage 30s. Still, it might be cool in a jam later on, so I'm definitely gonna try it. Actually, why don't we just go ahead and roll the jams right now? I've got 4 jams prepared for you. Let's roll them and see what you think. The first jam is going to be guitar only. All clean stuff, no distortion. I don't even know what you would call this genre. I've made a bunch of tracks of it privately over the years. Initially, I think I was trying to rip off the In Flames acoustic guitar parts. All the reverb is going to be from the amp itself. I'm going to use the carbon copy as a delay on the melody parts. And right down the middle, I'm going to put in just some strummed chords with a lot of chorus and tremolo on them. It's just going to serve the purpose of like filling out the space in the middle and making it sound a little bit more dense. Let's roll it. Man, I could stack recordings of this thing on top of each other all day. It just sounds incredible, pristinely clean. It's fantastic. I wonder if there's some way where I could like capture an impulse of this thing's spring tank and like load it into an IR loader and just have this thing's spring reverb on anything I wanted. That would be really awesome if I could do that. And now for the next jam, I want to use the amp's built-in distortion. And by that, I mean I want to crank up the amp to 10 and get distortion that way. And do like some kind of dad sounding rock riff, I guess. In case I haven't made it very clear at this point already, this amp's genre is not my genre, so if the demonstrations that I'm coming up with are sounding bad to you, then that's why. And you can let me know about it. You can let me know about it down there. Don't be shy. I'll take your advice and criticism and mean words. Yeah, it's definitely a cool overdrive sound, a little less saturated than I would like it to be though. Oh well, that's what boosts and actual overdrive pedals are for, I guess. Speaking of which, I haven't really demonstrated this thing in a solo capacity yet. Now, remember what I said at the beginning of this video. I can't play solos, but I feel like I have to try my best to do this amp justice. So that's what I'm going to do for this next jam. Have a similar dad-sounding blues chord progression, and I'm going to do the worst solo that anybody's ever heard over the top of it. For overdrive, I'm going to use the jet driver, also known as the orange tube screamer, and I'm going to have a little bit of slap back going on from the carbon copy. You see what I mean? You see what I mean about my lack of aptitude as a well-rounded guitarist? Like, I had to think about that solo. I didn't come up with that on the fly. I had to think about that solo. Put me in a band and ask me to do that on the fly, and I would probably just shrivel up into a ball. And now for the last jam. This is the one. I have to do it. I have to go full-on metal. Might be a little bit difficult to make it work, but I've just got to do it. I said in the title, Metalhead tries a Fender amp, so I've got to bring it. I've got to bring it. So that's what I'm going to do. Hook up a distortion pedal, bring out the C-tune guitar, and make some nastiness happen. Also, I lost the footage of me playing the drums for this playthrough segment, so some snippets of screen capture will have to do. Wow, wouldn't you know it? It's almost like this amp isn't meant to be used for metal or something. I really think it's these speakers, man. They just don't give you what you need for metal. I mean, it's cool. Like, it's different. It's interesting. Like, if I wanted to make an interesting metal tone that was different than your typical metal tone, you know, I'd bust this thing out. But these speakers, they just don't really give you what you need for more aggressive tones. I actually did a little bit of analysis because I was interested in just how different these speakers are. I made a frequency response graph of one of the vintage 30s in my Mesa cabinet and one of the Fender speakers. Notice how much more congested the Fender speaker is in the lows and lower mids than the vintage 30. It doesn't have as much of that 3K aggression either, but it does have more fizz than the vintage 30. In order to get that tone to kind of match up well with the sound of everything else, I actually ran 2 tones together. One of them I had the metal zone going for the brightness and the nastiness. And then because the mids were lacking, I ran the black clouds on another couple tracks, with the mids cranked and the mid boost engaged. And even then, I still had to suck out a bunch of low-mid nastiness that was just causing everything to sound congested. And I even put some multiband on the low end. So what have I learned by owning this amp? Well, I bought it in December of 2024, and it's now December of 2025. So I've had it for a year at this point. I've spent a year with it, and while it may not be the best thing to use as a distortion pedal platform to make like nasty high gain tones with, it is awesome for just about everything else. And honestly, it's made me realize that playing without distortion or playing with less distortion can be fun. Like, in the first 5 months that I had this thing, and the first 5 months that I had my Stratocaster going again, I probably played more guitar than I had played for like at least a couple years. Like, it was a really fun and novel experience, like turning the distortion off for once. Because like all my other amps are just distortion for days, like the 6505 distortion for days, the Marshall valve state. It can be clean, but like that's not what you plug into a valve state for. You know, you plug in because you want 90s distortion. So, you know, by having this amp and using it, my eyes were kind of reopened to this field of guitar that I hadn't played around in a really long time. And it's got me thinking, you know, maybe I should take some lessons. Maybe I should try to figure out how to become a more well-rounded guitarist that could actually put an amp like this to use. And if that doesn't happen, well, I mean, I've still got an awesome, big, real-deal vintage Fender clean amp to play around with. Use it as a tone machine and also use it for a test bed for pedals and tubes. I'm really happy with this thing. I may not deserve it. It may not seem like I have much of a use for it because of my genre, but I love it regardless. And with that, I'm going to bring this video to an end. If you liked it, then hit the like button and leave a comment down below about your Fender amp experience or your clean amp experience or whatever. If you have thoughts about anything in this video, just comment them down below. If you really like what you see, then subscribe to the channel. I don't really have an upload schedule. I make videos whenever I want, whenever I can. And I know that I haven't been posting for like the last several months, and it's not because I've been sitting on my hands. Like, there are a lot of videos that I want to make and that I could make, but I've just been so busy. There's been a lot of stuff going on in my life. In fact, this video was supposed to come out months ago. Like, I already had the jams recorded and stuff, but then the amp started having problems, so I had to find a place to get it fixed at so that I could make the main part of the video, and then stuff started happening in my life, and I just didn't have the time to make any videos. But I do have other videos cooking, so, you know, if you want to see those, then subscribe and look out for those videos in the future. And on that note, take care of yourselves, everybody, and take care of each other. I'm out of here.